Hello everyone, and welcome to the Next Generation Wrestling channel. My name is Trace Parks, and I am the creator and technically the CEO of Next Generation Wrestling. Now, you don't want to miss the upcoming action that'll be coming up soon here on the Next Generation Wrestling channel, so subscribe and click the bell to get notified when new wrestling episodes will be coming out. Now, in this video today, it's not a typical wrestling video. You know, you've got me sitting here in front of the camera. Normally, it's a lot of video game wrestling with a bunch of wrestlers that I've created. Today is the start of a new era of Next Generation Wrestling. Today, we're going to reveal the roster for the upcoming Next Generation Wrestling roster for both brands in and out of WWE 2K22. This was a week in the making, so y'all better be ready for what's about to come to this channel. We're going to go through each and every person, tag team, and woman that is going to be in Next Generation Wrestling here on the Next Generation Wrestling channel. Before we get started in revealing who is on this illustrious roster, make sure you go subscribe to my main channel, Trace Parks, if you want to go check out some gaming content. I have a lot on there. Also, go subscribe to the Weather News Happens or Not channel, where I make short films and other stuff with my friends. It'd be very much appreciated. But now, it is time. Without any further ado, I'm going to let y'all waiting. Keep y'all waiting from the excitement here. Athletes from across the world have made it here to Next Generation Wrestling to prove themselves, to see who is the best wrestler, best woman, and best tag teams in the world. So here we go. First, we have our two brands here on Next Generation Wrestling. We have Adrenaline. Look at the nice, beautiful logo for Adrenaline. And we have Mayhem. Look at the nice, beautiful Mayhem logo. You can stare at it all you want. But we got those two brands, and yesterday I did a draft with these wrestlers, and I drafted each and every one of them to either Mayhem or Adrenaline. I will get into the other shows and pay-per-views at the end of this video, so stick around for that. All of the wrestlers that you're going to see that I talk about will show up right here, and their names will be at the bottom of the screen if you want to look for yourself. I will talk about the wrestler, or I will keep moving on with whoever is on the roster. So we're going to start first with the Adrenaline roster. Starting off, we got to kick things off with our world champion, the Adrenaline world champion, Oliver Batista. One of the biggest guys in Next Generation Wrestling. He plans on dominating Next Generation Wrestling as the first ever Adrenaline world champion. And no, he is not related to Dave Batista, the wrestler and actor. It was, like I said, I re-edited a lot of people, a lot of wrestlers off of the community creations. So, it is what it is. But he is your Adrenaline World Champion. Next up, we have a man who takes his wrestling just like William Regal and his son, Charlie Dempsey. Peter Sullivan, who is the NXG Adrenaline United States Champion. Even though he's not from the United States, he's from England. Hence why he takes his inspirations from William Regal and Charlie Dempsey themselves. Our next champion on the list of the Adrenaline roster is Derek Dawkins, the NXG Adrenaline Television Champion. He's a big athlete, former collegiate wrestler, former high school state champion in wrestling, and he looks to dominate the wrestling ring as the television champion. Next up, we have our tag team champions in Samuel Sr. and Eddie Lopez. Also two more former collegiate wrestling athletes who looked for inspirations such as Kurt Angle, and they are now your Adrenaline tag team champions. We have our women's champion, Lisa Lejeune, who is a fashionista, to say the least. I mean, look at her hair, for crying out loud. It's crazy. I didn't even know that hairstyle existed in the game. But she is your NXG Adrenaline Women's Champion. And the final champions of the Adrenaline roster, we have the team of Madoka Sakagami and Noriko Toki. The duo from Japan, very well-rounded wrestlers from Japan. They look to make an impact in the women's tag team division. This is also the first time that I've ever done women's tag teams in wrestling, in a wrestling show I've ever done. I've never, usually in the games they don't have it to where you can do women's tag teams, or have belts for that matter of women's tag teams. So I'm taking advantage of it now, and we're showcasing the women's tag teams in Next Generation Wrestling. Next up we have our men, our singles wrestlers that are men in Adrenaline. We have Nigeria's Kemi Oye, who is a very talented wrestler coming out of Nigeria. We have Giovanni Accardi, who is I would say happy-go-lucky Italian man, as you can tell. And we've got Boston Brown, who is literally from Boston, Massachusetts. Can't get any better than that, but Boston Brown. We've got Chris Tilton, one of the most athletic African-American wrestlers in Next Generation Wrestling. Probably one of the best wrestlers to get drafted to the Adrenaline roster, in my opinion. We have McIntyre, who takes his inspiration from, obviously, Drew McIntyre. We just chop the Drew off and call him McIntyre. Awesome stuff. We have India's Rohit Vaikar, who is a very athletic, high-flying superstar, who takes his inspiration from Guru Raj of the WWE. Next up we have Laser, who gets his inspiration from a lot of wrestlers and not just in WWE, but in wrestling period, such as Ricochet and the likes of Flip Gordon. Next up we have veteran wrestler Gunnar DeLeon, who has been in the business for 20 years and looks to win some more championships in a league such as Next Generation Wrestling. Next up we have England's Ridge. The hard-hitting Ridge is coming to NXG Adrenaline, and he looks to make an impact, make a name for himself, like every single person on this roster. Next up we have Max Magnum. That name just sounds like a superhero in my opinion. Maybe he'll fly like a superhero. Who knows? Time will tell. Y'all will just have to watch. Y'all have to subscribe and watch to see how Max Magnum does. We have another veteran wrestler in Cameron Russo, who's been wrestling for 10 to 15 years now, and he looks to put all of his effort into becoming the NXG Adrenaline World Champion. I didn't talk to him personally, but it seems like he is well on his way to become the next NXG Adrenaline Champion. So Oliver Batista, you better watch out. Next up we have Riker. I've had plenty of Rikers in Trace Parks wrestling history, such as Cameron Riker, and there also is in WWE Jackson Riker. But Riker's just a cool name to me, and now we've got a wrestler named Riker, and he's looking to make a name for himself in NXG Adrenaline. Next up we have Drake Damon, the last of the singles wrestlers, or not the last. We have two more singles wrestlers. I forgot that I did a couple of them last night. Drake Damon, who is another collegiate wrestling athlete who looks to make a name for himself as well. The last two singles wrestlers on the Adrenaline roster, we have Elijah Pettit, who is very, as you can tell, he looks very emo gothic. The pain is deep inside this man's bones. And last but not least, for the singles male roster, for the Adrenaline roster, Van Allen. Very unique wrestler, very unique man, very unique looking dude. Van Allen is named after an actual physical van. I honestly don't know. I'm just making that up. I really don't know. I thought that was a cool name. Van Allen. Cool. Also, if you want some of your characters to join NXG Wrestling, leave some names, leave some stuff in the comments, and I will make sure that your created person makes it to Next Generation Wrestling. Next up we have our singles females of the Adrenaline roster. We have Jenna Morrison, who is a classy but sassy woman that wrestles. Can't get any better than that. We've got Lacey Phelps, who has wrestled for about 5 or 6 years now. We have Eve Stewart, one of the best Asian American wrestlers we have in NXG Wrestling. We have Alicia Arnold, who used to be a MMA fighter in the Octagon, in the UFC and Bellator. We have Ayumi Saito, one of the best Japanese wrestlers to come out of Japan. For real. And we have her here at NXG Wrestling. Next up we have Isabella Robinson, Next we have Kayla Ulay. Ulay sounds like a food dish. And she might, I don't know if she would eat you up in the ring. That's kind of weird, but she might do it in the wrestling ring to become the women's champion. And now we're moving on to our tag teams, men and women. First up we have the team of Josh Moreland and AJ Black. Next up we have the team of Australia's Andy Tarver and Japan's Daichi Yoshizawa. Next we have the team of Evil, Malik and Ruax. They come from who knows where. I don't think I would want to get on their bad side. Would you? Next up we have the Ballin' Duo of Deontay Kendall and Aaron Davis. They look to make an impact and shoot their shot to the NXG Adrenaline Tag Team Championships. Next we have our women's tag teams to end the Adrenaline roster here. We have the team of Asia Aspen and Camilla Garcia. Next we have the team of Sissy Edwards and Alice Victoria. Next we have the team of Christina Rodriguez and Ada Wilson. Next we have the final team of the women's group, Aaliyah Abaya and Lori White. And these women are going to be fighting to go after the Japanese tag team of Sakigawa and Toki for the Adrenaline Women's Tag Team Championships. Y'all gonna have to watch. You're gonna have to watch all the action as it comes out here on the Next Generation Wrestling channel to stay up to date. Because you don't know what's gonna happen in Next Generation Wrestling. No one knows. Our next brand, and the last brand here of Next Generation Wrestling that we're going to be showcasing here, is the Mayhem Roster. Now, it's going to work the same way as I did with the Adrenaline Roster. We're going to list off every single person that's going to be on the Mayhem Roster. So here we go. We're starting off first with our World Heavyweight Champion from Australia, Mr. EJ Gordon. Don't know what the EJ stands for, but it sounds cool, so we're just going to go with it. But EJ Gordon is a behemoth in the ring, and he plans on proving that he is going to be one of the best NXG Mayhem World Champions. Next up we have Japan's So Ishii, who is the NXG Mayhem Intercontinental Champion, and he looks to also prove himself in the wrestling ring. Next up we have our Mayhem Heritage Champion, El Olympico Jr. He is the son of former WWE wrestler El Olympico. So he's got a lot of potential to live up to. I mean, he's going to be living up to his dad, so he better not mess it up. We have our tag team champions, Imperium. This is my version of Imperium, not WWE's Imperium. Of Finn Cormac from Ireland and Argen Tuzen from Turkey. And their leader of this group from Germany, Abraham Tisch, who leads the pack of Imperium. He looks like he's going to be it's going to be hard to battle Abraham Tisch in the wrestling ring, because if he's anything like Walter or Gunther, he's going to be hard to deal with. Our women's champion, we have Ellie Smith, who was a former MMA fighter in the Octagon, and everywhere, she's an MMA fighter, all the combat sports, you name it, she's done it. Our women's tag team champions, the final champions of Mayhem, we have Team Sunshine with Chloe Simpson and Christina Myers. Now, their name may sound very nice and sweet, but when you get them in the ring, it's not going to be nice and sweet. Alright, and here's our singles male competitors. We have Davis Slater. From India, we have Ranjit Luthra. We have the Wolfman, Christian Clark. We have Watson Rice. From Switzerland, Nicholas Bocci. The Big Texan, Big John Hill. The Mighty Michael Mills. Another big man on Mayhem, Mr. Lawson. This next man who prides himself after Samoa Joe, Dominic Morgan. We have Connor Cross, this next man who derives himself from the ancient Vikings, the Raider. This next man was trained by Daniel Bryan himself, David Ramshaw. And last but not least, we have Colombia's high flyer, Marcello. And those are all of the singles male superstars on NXG Mayhem that you'll be seeing and witnessing firsthand here on the Next Generation Wrestling channel. Next up, we have our singles women's wrestlers. We have Taylor Towers, Paige Andrews, Ruth Spears, Ava Bell, Dana, Ava Jones, and Ellie Teagan. And those are the women that are going to be fighting against each other to go after Ellie Smith's women's champion. And there will be new people coming in and out of here. Some of these people that you might hear today might get released in the middle of the show. Or not in the middle of the show, but in the middle of this year or next year. You never know what's going to happen here. So you might see some new faces here. And also, I'll get to what I'm thinking right now at the end of the video. But we're going to keep going with our men's tag teams. We have the team of the Luvo tribe of Rafiki and Faraji. It's a duo you definitely don't want to mess with because they were raised in Africa, Ghana, West Africa. There's no telling what they've seen and what they've done. So, you might want to look out for that. Next up, we have the team of Davey Lynch and Romano Fonti. Next, we have the team of The Big Deal, because they're a pretty big deal when you look at who's in the tag team. Palmer Dolores and Josiah Jackson. Next, we have, in our final men's tag team, we have FTW, or For the Win, Rocky Graves and Will Elias. And now it is time to introduce our women's tag team competitors. We've got the team of Sierra Espinoza and Luisa Ventura. We have Toya Johnson and Kaylee Ramirez. We have the team of Bonnie Miller and Paula Martinez. And finally, we have the team of Mary London and Summer Taylor. Yes, I know it sounds like a lot of these women were thrown together in tag teams, but hey, you never know which one's going to work and which ones are not going to work. You might see some new tag teams, you might not. It is what it is. Wrestling is a beast in itself. I forgot to mention there is one more singles wrestler left to announce for NXG Mayhem, and that is Granger Collins, a very high prospect in the wrestling world. And with a name like that, how could you not like a dude like Granger Collins? Just a cool name. But ladies and gentlemen, that is all of the roster for NXG Wrestling. It's going to be very exciting to see what happens in the NXG Wrestling ring. Who's going to become champions? Who's going to win? Who's going to lose? We also are going to have a minor show to showcase more wrestling to you fine, fabulous folks called NXG Next Level. So look out for that show. We're going to have 4 great wrestling matches every episode. That's going to feature wrestlers from the NXG Mayhem and Adrenaline rosters. And also look out for, in the future, our first ever NXG pay-per-view live event. It is going to be NXG Breakdown. I know on this channel we did NXG Breakdown earlier this year with a bunch of different created wrestlers. But this time, it's going to be different. This time, it's going to be better. But ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be it for me, Trace Parks here, talking about the NXG roster going in to this year. I will be coming to you possibly next year with the NXG draft, where we're going to see if some of these people stay, if some of the new people stay, if we get new people coming in, who is going to go to Adrenaline and Mayhem, and we will see where NXG is in a year or so time. But that's going to do it for me, ladies and gentlemen. If you liked this video and you liked all of the created wrestlers you saw here today, leave a like on this video. Comment what matches you'd like to see here on NXG Wrestling and what created people you want me to put on the NXG roster in the future. And subscribe to the Next Generation Wrestling channel. And don't forget to hit that notification, that bell, to be notified when episodes come out for you. My name is Trace Parks, and I'll see you guys in the next Generation Wrestling video. Bye-bye.